As Core 4 comes in like a tidal wave, I think it's important to note that this is the culmination of everything Bleach has tried to say. As I have said and explained in multiple videos, Bleach's framework is nothing to play with. During this video, we'll dive into essential motifs that directly characterize and illustrate this framework. These motifs are written to paint a more vivid and fluid understanding of these multiple themes and thematic arcs Bleach communicates. Understandably, understanding the ubiquitous undertones underlined throughout every character and story arc will without a doubt enhance your enjoyment and knowledge heading into the finale of Bleach. Rain as a motif in literature is often used as a metaphor for sadness or sorrow. In Bleach, it is similarly used that way. During the most traumatic parts of the story and Ichigo's life, rain was there to sell the scene. Even symbolically, characters use the rain to characterize sad situations inside the story. Memories in the rain by itself are supposed to be tragic stories we have to tell. The rain underpins the melancholy of our two main characters and their backstory. However, this is a shallow demonstration of what the rain really means. The rain is one gigantic metaphor for connection. The rain connects us and disconnects us as well. Think about what Memories in the Rain serves to be. It shows a story of how Ichigo lost his mother and felt as if he removed the sun from his world. Similarly, Rukia feels as if she killed her mentor and is stuck in a permanent cycle of loneliness. These stories show us the disconnection of bonds, but that is only the beginning of this motif. And one of the best stretches of Bleach, everything but the rain develops this motif as something entirely positive. It is not unfortunate that it happened, it's fortunate that you have to experience it. The story of Masaki and Ishin is told under rain, but this retroactive viewing of their story allows the audience to understand the full context of this sad story. Under the full context, we know this event is entirely good despite their hardships. It is painful, it is joyous, comedic, lustful, morbid, wholesome, ephemeral. It is everything but the rain. Fear as a motif in Bleach is the most enigmatic moving piece in the series. Fear is compounded with the idea of death in Bleach. Obviously, death as a concept is likely the most important idea or aspect in the series. Fear is used to accentuate the idea of death. We fear what we cannot see is compounded and multiplied by the following poem. We have hope because we cannot see death standing behind us. Fearing the unknown is natural for every living being. The unnatural element is incorporated with Ichigo's own plight of fearing death yet being so close to the undead. This complex turn of events is his immediate characterization, and this contradiction is answered perfectly within Memories in the Rain. Ichigo fears death despite the natural process of it and his abnormal connection to it because of his family. Fear as a motif is what comes to shine light on this natural process. Death is completely and utterly natural. Despite the end being there, we cannot just accept it with our heads bowing down. Because we're able to fear death, we're able to appreciate life and the meaning it holds. That is inevitably the message Bleach tries to communicate. This message is obviously supplemented by majority of the antagonists in Bleach, Aizen, Yuha, and Asnot being examples. Aizen believes strength is the end-all be-all. Nothing can surpass strength as you can bend anyone to your will. Aizen uses strength to enact his goals and go beyond the cycle. He understands this strength he looks to gain cannot be achieved without fear as a core motivator. All beings need fear inevitably to evolve. He has a correct disposition with his ideology. Aizen takes fear and uses it to spring himself forward to the person he wants to become. Yuha is an interesting case. Yuha wants to remove the concept of death, literally erasing the duplicity of life and death. This is all in fear of death itself. Everything about Yuha places him in precarious situations where he is almost engineered to fear death itself. This is how Asnot comes in, and a great parallel to the both of them, Asnot weaponizes fear itself to strengthen himself. Asnot's shrift literally materializes the core concept of fear as an instinctual and psychological process. This ability is compounded by the fact that Asnot himself is incredibly fearful of death. Asnot projects his own fear of death onto his enemies in order to ward off against his own fear. The reciprocity of fear being used to circumvent death only serves to characterize the duplicity of their relationship.
Your heart, you say? You humans always toss around that word so casually, as if it's something you can hold in the palm of your hand.
The most well-known and recognized phrase within the entirety of Bleach, the heart is much more than just a pump the blood organ. The heart often reflects a person's entire being rather than a mindset or any individual facet. I like to think of the heart as a person's spiritual pressure almost. We know every spiritually aware being has a unique spiritual pressure that connects not only to their race but their very identity. This is how Rukia was able to sense Renji's spiritual pressure to be so lowered because he was forced out of Bankai. Basically, your heart is your core essence. The earliest reveal of this motif is in chapter 17 in Orihime's poem. If I were rain that joined sky and earth that otherwise never touch, could I join two hearts as well? This poem is a complete reference to formlessness and connection. The heart itself is one big metaphor for the formlessness one can have. This formlessness is proof of your bonds to one another. We exist metaphorically in the hearts of those around us. Ukiura as a character denies his formlessness as he denounces everything that does not take shape in his eyes. He ironically closed his heart in fear of it being hurt. Only on his deathbed could he tragically witness what formlessness could look like. The heart as an idea can almost manifest as miracles. It is slightly vague in the context of Bleach, but we can find some answers within the Hogyoku. Aizen said the powers of the Hogyoku is to materialize the hearts of those around it. This is allegedly how Orihime and Chad awoken their powers. Gerard himself seems to be the heart of the Soul King, and his powers has to do entirely with miracles. It is not just a you hit me, I get stronger ability. It is something isn't working properly, therefore I get the ability to make it work. To me, it seems like the pre-time skip emphasized the heart as a way to connect to others and avoid loneliness, while the post-time skip tries to communicate the heart as being a motivation for others. To me, it seems like if your heart is in the right place, then miracles are bound to happen.
私と貴様で何が違うのか教えてやろう。格だ。円光即月。獣の目に映るのは、所詮水に映った月まで。それを取ろうともがいても、ただ水底に沈むのみ。貴様の牙は私に届くことはない。永遠にな。
Oh man, Deku Opioids coming in to talk about the moon again. The moon in Bleach is symbolic of fate. The moon in its very concept revolves around cycles. Cycles are completely indicative of fate, thereby the moon represents fate. Fate is intimately connected to death. Death is a thing fated to happen to every being no matter what. As a result of this fated event, the moon is often viewed as something perilous to go beyond. Several characters in the series attempt to go past the moon and grab and admonish what it represents. For several characters, they are simply gazing at the moon in awe, dreaming of changing their own fate. In Volume 10's poem, we reach out with our hands, brush away the clouds and pierce the sky to grab the moon and Mars, but we still can't reach the truth. It directly compares truth to be the moon. The nature of the moon is subjective in several ways. For Renji, the moon was his lack of strength and lack of power to change anything about Ruki's situation. This was further accentuated when not only he said so, but Byakuya read out his own heart after clashing blades. The moon is the ultimate idea for weakness of our characters. Ideas such as loneliness, despair, and depression are all compounded and contingent on the moon. It is not a coincidence that some of our major antagonists were all characterized by this moon. For primary antagonists, Aizen aimed to become the moon itself due to his own insecurities and mental inhibitions that he could not shake. His own complex emotional state bred the unfortunate state of affairs where we find to be his motivations. In Yuha, he does not try to become the moon, he simply is. Yuha is the proverbial light that shines off the moon, effectively making him the moon itself. He is inevitable as death itself, as the man prophesies to one day take over the world. Yuha was able to survive by forcefully taking from others and gaining strength. Everything about Yuha describes him as the moon itself. This nuance makes the final interaction with Yuha and Ichigo all the more impactful, as Zangetsu, slaying Moon, cuts open the literal embodiment of the moon and changes fate once more. Poetry in motion.
お別れだ、イチゴ。
そうみてえだな。
For me, this has to be one of, if not the most powerful message in Bleach. In a series where its bread and butter is tragedy, despair, and misfortune, the idea of hope shines brighter than any light. As the second poem says, people have hope because they cannot see death standing behind them. This poem implicates hope as shining through every shadow death creates. This idea of hope is constantly explored through character dynamics. Aizen and Ichigo, Notora and Nell, and most notably Orihime and Ukiura. Aizen's own motivations showcase a nihilistic pretense for destroying almost everything about the current affairs of the world. The Central 46, the Soul Society, the Cleaner. All of these things just showcase their own fraudulence, which Aizen rejects with his spiritual ability. Aizen can't stand the fragility and hearsay associated with such concepts. All of this is in total with his own motivation to stand alone, peerless, as he is so used to. It took Ichigo to show him that he isn't so alone, that he can have someone to equal him, that he doesn't need to maintain the same ideals and motive because of this lack thereof connection. It took Ichigo connecting with him to showcase the hope the world intrinsically has. Nell and Nochiura are explicit parallels concerning in their race. As I've said so many times, Nochiura is a tragic character looking entirely to go beyond the grief Hollows experience. Everything about his character shackles him to the cycle of grief Hollows are accustomed to. He looks for strength entirely simply just to escape the cycle. He devours Hollows just to be the one Hollow that has left them in his past and prove that they can go beyond their hellish existence. This attitude, however, is intrinsically nihilistic and anti-natalist. It took his biggest counterpart, being Nell, to dismantle his ideals. Nell as a Hollow takes her ability to reason and think to form compassion for Hollows. She views Hollows as fragile and weak beings that need to be guided and protected. This angle of femininity is shown countless times as Nell never gives up on Nochiura. She constantly tries to change him and empathizes with his situation all the way down to his death. Of course, Nell feeling that fleeting moment of empathy for Nochiura is made full when Nell could have killed him many times. Nell did not kill Nochiura despite his constant threats and acts of violence. She actually went out of her way to prevent him from killing himself. This layer of their dynamic reads as a cautionary tale that one should never give in to the despair of their situation. There can be hope even in the darkest of cycles. Ukiura is the embodiment of nihilism itself. Anything not immediately recognizable through his gaze has no value at all. This limiting mindset can survive a long time in Wako Mundo where strength is valued above all else. When contested with the fragility of his ideology, Ukiura shows his hypocrisy. Ukiura has emotions and has feelings. He simply does not allow himself to feel any of them because that would be proof of his flawed mentality. Similar to the person he loyally follows, Ukiura has to be beaten with the correct ideals. The power behind Ichigo's transformation against Ukiura is that it categorically shows him the formless connection between two hearts that beat as one. As Ichigo was putting it, he isn't fighting because he wants to win nor thinks he can't. He is fighting because he has to win. He has to win for Orihime, his friends, his family, and his home itself. Ichigo never giving up or conceding 1 inch in his final confrontation against Ukiura is hope in itself. It is a strength of mind contingent on hope that is able to find a way to achieve every possible goal and protect everyone.
Hey there, sweetie. How old are you?
16.
18. You're first.
Man, shit, they got serious, man.